Okay. I think I just got beans on my. Never mind. Um. Hi guys. Um. I can't wait for the day that I'm able to live stream. That's gonna be a great day. But until then, I'm stuck recording on my phone, and well, I will always be stuck recording on my phone. But I don't give a shit because YouTube's gonna shut me down for cussing in the first 5 minutes or something. But I don't care. Um, I think that's how that works, anyways. Hopefully people watch this one. I think this is Video Diary 3. I'm having a bit of a midnight snack right now. It is 1 in the morning. Last time I checked the time, it was 12:59 a.m. So I was just working on yet another essay that I'm behind on. But I've already thought about the title of this video. I'm gonna call it a fresh start. You know, I'm looking for a fresh start. You know, um, excuse me while I take a bite of my food because this looks good. It is good, but good shit. But I say a fresh start because, well, the last 2 weeks was spring break for me, or at least from high school, and I have good news. I'm no longer considering dropping out, which is great. I was really scared of that for a moment. I think I actually cried myself to sleep that night because I was just so stressed out with all the shit that's going on. And then I remembered, you're a big boy. You just turned 17. You can do this. Or so I thought. Um, it hasn't gone wrong yet. I know that's what I implied, but it hasn't gone wrong yet. But it's honestly, like, the way it's looking right now, it's highly unlikely that it goes right. But then again, there was like a 20%, it was a very low chance that I actually passed last semester. And then I got a 3.8. So, who knows? Maybe I'll turn around. I turned it around in the last week, last semester, but I don't have until then for this semester. Um, I did miss my chemistry state testing because of, well, I'll tell you that story in a minute. Um, because of a story, but yeah. So I'm a bit failing that class. You'll see me look that way a lot, as I always do, because I'm very paranoid of my family hearing me. I don't need them to know that I'm doing this. This is me just venting. Um, Picking up my alabala, It's great. Es muy bueno. Muy bueno. Alabala. Muy buena. It's great. I love it. It's good. I'm a Nosabo kid, not appropriating. Just can't speak Spanish good. You know what? Fuck it. Story time. So this was in, I want to say, late February, early March, and it was very infuriating for me because chemistry, right? My chemistry teacher, I've never liked him. I didn't like him before I met him. I didn't like him when I met him, and I still don't like him now. Um, I actually actively despise that man as a teacher, and for reasons I will get to in a bit. Um, I love that man as a man, as a person, right? And I'm not trying to name drop here because I know the internet can get crazy, but he said, well, I'll get to that later, more context, but he's a great person, and I know he's a great person, but as a teacher, I think he is absolutely horrendous at teaching. And I don't say that a lot about a lot of teachers because I get along with literally like almost all of my teachers. There's been a few bits here and there. Like I didn't like one of my kindergarten teachers. I had two for some reason. Wasn't a big fan of my fourth grade teacher. That came to me in a dream last night. Weird dream I had last night. Don't remember all of it, but I'll get to it. um, and then after that, oh right, fourth grade teacher, eh. Fifth grade teacher, massive, massive racist piece of shit. And I live in California. There's not a lot of those out here, but they're when you find them, they're bad. They're good at keeping it hidden until you realize like what's going on. And so like as soon as you notice it, it's like wow. But that's a story for another day. Um, and then oof, this one still affects me to this day. To this day. Um, my eighth grade math teacher was like if you think about what you would think of a bad teacher, she is that. She's not the worst teacher I ever had. That does belong to my fifth grade teacher. She was, oh my god, don't even get me started. But my eighth grade teacher is sitting just one level below that. She was also pretty fucking racist. Yeah. And then I hadn't really had any horrible teachers that I really didn't like and really didn't get along with in high school, right? But one there is one teacher that I might possibly have next semester or second semester my senior year that it's I don't have anything against her. I actually love her. She's a great person, but um I don't like her teaching style, which is it's more personal for me. I have nothing against her. So I'm just trying to avoid taking that class. I might take econ in college instead just to avoid having to have her class again. But nothing against her. I actually love her. I would totally go and have a conversation with her again, which I have actually on multiple occasions. I love talking to her. She's great, wonderful. She was my history teacher last year. Um, but this year I was introduced formally to Mr. Samuels, and he teaches junior chemistry. Well, he just teaches chemistry, but he teaches it for the juniors in the Matador Early College program, which from now on I will be referring to as MEC. Um, and I didn't hear good things about him from the juniors that I knew at the time. The former juniors who had taken his class before. And so I came in with like a very low bar for him to meet. And, I just wanted, bare minimum teacher who just barely did shit. That's literally, that would have met the bar for him. But depending on what kind of person you are, you could either love or hate his teaching style. But, like, the thing is, his teaching style is 90% of the people hate his teaching style. You know? And, so, this man, on the first day of class, as we were getting introduced to him, right? Assigned seats. Sat me next to my ex on day one. Fuck that. And then this, but I tried to come to terms with it, but we were sitting like right next to each other in these really tiny seats, and I'm over 6 foot tall, so you can imagine how I feel with my very long legs and her very, very, we'll say thick thighs. No C's, just thick, to put it kindly. What she did to me is another story time. Yeah. But, I tried sitting there for maybe a week, and then I think the next Monday, I came in and I just told him before the class got there. I told him, "Hey, I can't sit next to her. We're not really on a talking basis." Keep in mind, I sat next to her without talking to her for a week. Yeah, crazy, right? Because I hadn't talked to her since the day we broke up, and that was before I knew the crazy shit. And I'm really edging you guys with these fucking. Oh yeah, there's a story there. We'll get to that. But yeah, no. Yeah. So I told him, he was like, okay, great. So he moved me to a table that I could tolerate, and from then on, we never sat next to each other ever again. Um, yeah. So that was good. That was a positive. But then I remember also that first week we got the syllabus, which was to be sent home and signed. Um, and me as a person, I think no matter who you are, I think all contracts are negotiable, right? So I negotiated the contract, of course, in the syllabus, right? He grades notes, which is understandable to a degree, but he doesn't just grade them on amount of notes. He grades them on you need to have this, this, and this, and you need to have a picture that you drew, and it needs to have color in it. Take a step back. Hold on. Let's have a conversation. Right? And so, as I turned in the syllabus, right, I made little edits on there. I remember I looked at I was coming off of a summer where I took two summer courses that were 6 weeks each, and in the college courses that you take, right, there's no parent involvement. They sign off on it, like they sign off on it every semester, and then college is not their problem, right? So I really enjoyed that because I just came off of a summer semester where I had aced a biology course at Grossmont College, which are supposed to be really hard, with one of the highest grades in the class. And I also passed a psychology class in college, so I don't have to take psychology in high school either, you know? And so I was feeling like really on top of it, and I say pass because I got a C, by the way. Um, but I felt really good about myself, and I felt like I can be very independent in my education. So I went in the syllabus, I looked at it, and I was just like, there was a phrase that said something along the lines of um, parents and students are responsible for keeping for something like consistently checking grades or something like that. And I looked at it and I went and I crossed out parents because let's be honest, my mom is pretty absent in my education, to say the least. She'll sign off on everything and whatever, but it's mostly up to me. And it's a mutual understanding. It's nothing bad. So I just casually, cross that out, because she doesn't usually need to be involved. Um, but yeah, no, that was the first little thing, and then there was and then I pulled him aside after the first note check about um colors and pictures. Like I can understand the pictures part. I just do not understand why we need colors. You know? Like why why must I not only draw pictures like I'm a little kid in my notebook? I know it works for some people, it doesn't work for me. I know that, right? And so I looked at him. Well, I went to him and I told him, "Hey, I know it I like I was really passive aggressive about it. I know how I am, right? I'm not gonna try and sugarcoat it and say I was really nice and I came to him. I was really polite. I was polite, but I was very like you heard the undertone of passive aggressive because that is the way I am. I know it's not a good thing to have, not very good character to have, but it's quite a thing that I have. Um, so I was like underlyingly passive aggressive, but like openly polite. And I was like, hey, I bet to put it nicely, I said, hey, this like I know it doesn't. I know it's good for some people, but it really doesn't work for me, and I don't like that. You won't grade it at all. By the way, if you don't meet all of the criteria about, pictures, colors, and everything that you have to have written down, right? He won't even grade it. He'll look at it and be like, I don't like your picture. Do it better. Put more detail. Um, and then there's no color like anywhere. And the way that pissed me off. Whew. So in that conversation, I managed to negotiate because I am actually pretty good at negotiating, despite how passive aggressive I can be in my tone. Um, yeah, and I was able to negotiate. I don't need to do color, but I do still need to do everything else, right? So long as all the info is there and the picture, which is understandable, I guess. Compromise. So things were pretty well between us. As that's the teacher student relationship for, I'd say, about 2 months after that. But we had our bouts here and there because I was always really inattentive, and because like the things he was telling us was like, especially at the beginning of the semester, was very biology, and I just came off of a college biology course, and so I already knew all of it. And wow, my food's getting cold. I'm not gonna eat it anymore because I gotta keep talking. Um, and he like, yeah, and so a lot of it was the same. So I was saying, and so I told him, like, especially since I was like missing notes, because I'm the kind of person where you only write notes where you have things that are valuable and that you don't really have locked in your mind, you know. And so I went to him and I told him, he looked at me and was just like, you're missing a lot of this and you're missing a lot of that, when he was grading the next one or the one after that. And I was just like, well, yeah, because I kind of know it. It's biology, and I just took a college biology course. He's like, yes, I know, but I need you to have all the information down. I was just like, okay, whatever. So I did it. I got it done. I was irritated, but I got it done. And um, I really hope this is still recording because I think I'm doing a really good job. Um, I remember telling him, well, I don't. What am I saying? I lose myself sometimes. Um, and okay, and another thing that really got to me, like throughout the entire semester, up until the big final straw on the camel's back, um, the way he teaches, not like what he does as he teaches. It's it is kind of what he does as he teaches, though, right? So this is now beyond the curriculum that he has, right, which I've already gone through and talked about. Um, but now it's like the way he acts as he teaches. Day one, he meowed at us. You call for his name, right? You're asking for help. He'll meow at you. He'll say meow and then go talking. I just gave myself get out of my head. And so like that was very strange and peculiar, especially since I like to have a relatively serious setting in a learning environment. And so that didn't sit right with me. And there were other things that he did, but it's just like his mannerisms don't work for me. Like imagine, okay, like the cringe millennials that you'll always see on like TikTok and stuff, right? That is him. That is my chemistry teacher, but personified. And I despise it. So that's always like knacking at me and getting on my nerves, right? And so, oh my god, okay, and so we get halfway through the semester and we get a midterm, right? And keep in mind, this is a chemistry class, right? But chemistry is really important for going into the health pathway, especially at my school, right? Where you go and you become a nurse, a doctor, or whatever, right? And you do like internships as a part of that, and you take these specific classes that you don't really need to take, but they're good, like physiology and shit. But Our midterm, right? Chemistry is a required course to take at my school. Everyone has to do it. It's that or physics, and no one wants to take physics. So, right, chemistry. The the midterm for a chemistry class had nothing to do, literally almost nothing to do, if it weren't for me being in the honors class that he teaches, right? It would have absolutely nothing to do with chemistry, but because it's an honors class, he puts that one little extra step where you have to, how does this relate to chemistry? And the assignment was you need to pick a career in the what is it? Like what do you call like that like that the whole health like industry, right? You have to pick a career in there. You know, it could be like phlebotomy, it could be nursing, getting like being a neurological surgeon or whatever. And right, you and you had to like do a career search and presentation on it, right? And you didn't have to present it. You just had to like get all the information like slides and then turn it in, right? Right? And so like one that has nothing to do with chemistry except for the fact that we have to like stretch it to connect it to chemistry. And then two, this is our midterm when for the last what, I don't know, 9 weeks we've been doing nothing related to that. And then I need to calm down. I need to calm down. I do this a lot where I get really riled up. And I'm realizing now I need to calm down. Um I hit the table, sorry. Let me drink some water. Oh, yeah. And what was it? Literally literally freshman year, right? This man is a mech teacher. Mech. Matador Early College. He's a mech teacher, right? And so he has all these meetings with all the other mech teachers where they say where they basically know what they all teach and like they make it to where, you know, they communicate, right? Um why are we doing another career presentation? Cuz guess what? We did one less than 2 years before that. Sorry, it was the final for freshman English. Yeah, yeah. Was it the final? When did I write that paper? I think it was the first semester final for freshman year. It was literally the first thing that we did, right? And this man was making us doing another career thing when 90% of the class has no interest in the health field, right? Health industry. He had no interest, absolutely none. Like maybe literally not even 10%, right? And no, we have to do that, but you have to do the midterm like that. And so I didn't do the midterm until like the last week of school because he's one of those that accepts like late work no matter what. And so I didn't do it until the very last week of the semester because I needed to pass a class. Like that's how much I didn't want to do it because it had nothing to do with it because I have my career picked out, you know, if I don't go pro in, you know, soccer cuz you know, there's a small chance. I mean, I have man titties. They're not muscle, it's fat. You know, I got some weight to lose. I'm not going to say I'm exactly like in shape, but I'm pretty good at what I do, you know? And nah, I had other than that, right? I had my very specific career that I wanted to do. And if you don't know what it is, and this is the first time you've ever heard of it, right? It is like it is civil engineering, kind of, right? It's very close to civil engineering, but it has more of an architectural spin to it, and it's called urban planning, right? I want to be an urban planner. I want to be a city planner, right? And if anything, I'll go into government, right? Because I just want to work for the common. I want to work for the better of my community, my society, like society as a whole, right? I want to work for the betterment of people. And so I think that my little niche, it would be in urban planning, specifically like transportation planning. And no, I have to do something in health when I give literally zero fucks about it. And so like that was a big one for me, but I still in the end got it done, as I said. Now, coming into this semester, right, after that whole educational miracle, sorry, academic miracle, right? Not not an academic comeback, an academic miracle, because I was not supposed to pass, but I did with soaring colors. And so, coming into the next semester, I looked at myself over the 2 week break that you get over from December to January. I looked at myself and I literally in the mirror and I said, "You need to get your shit together. You need to get your shit together." And then I didn't get my shit together. Um, so I didn't get my shit together. I was really good for a week, and then I was already missing an assignment, and I was just like, well, shit. I was good through January, but come February, everything just completely fell off a cliff. I don't. The soccer team at my high school sucks ass. And it's not because of me, it's because of my coach. He coaches, other than, high school, he coaches little kids. Little kids. I'm talking like 10-year-olds. And so all the drills that we were doing were for little kids. And this season we had already dropped to from D4 to D5 after a very, very bad performance last season too. Yeah. So it didn't look good for us, right? And then no one on the team cared, and it really affected me because I care a lot, but no one else did. And there was this whole like schism in the coaching staff between the head coach and the assistant coach, and they did not like each other. So that was a whole mess. But it is what it is. The season ended. We got knocked out. Oh my god, this one really killed me. We got knocked out in the first round of the D5 playoffs, which it's a miracle we even made playoffs because we didn't win a single game in 2025, right? And so we made it to the playoffs miraculously, and we played another school with barely 300 students who was on a miracle run, by the way. Um, we played them, and the freshman defender playing center back let in a very early goal, and then they just can't finish. No one on that whole team could finish for the life of them. They had so many chances they could not finish. So they so he put me in the last 20 minutes of that game as the goalkeeper, making goalkeeper switch mid game. Weird, right? That's what I said. He put me in last 20 minutes. We were already down, right? I got a clean sheet because I'm good at what I do. The other guy wasn't. I don't. And the next day, I was talking to the head coach, because he needed help at the stadium or whatever, right? And I live to serve. So the next day, I was talking to him, and given my performance in those 20 minutes, he said, "quote I should have put you in earlier." And yeah, no shit. I was carrying a JV team for a whole season, still losing every game because I hadn't a team. And I hadn't a team, basically. That's yeah, it's a stain on my record. But yeah, no, that happened. And he should have called me up earlier. I knew that from day one. Every team we ever played, right, their coaches asked, why aren't you on varsity? Favoritism, duh. He wanted the skinny kid instead of me, right? Even though I'm better than the skinny kid, despite how I look. I look big. I look massive, right? I look like I'm big. I look like I can't move, right? I have the stamina. I have the speed. I have the reaction time, and I can get to most balls. My only thing is I can't really play well with my feet, but now that's getting better going to club season. Um, but that really affected my mental state, right? So I was already like falling behind at school by February, right? Which does not help my irritation with the one and only chemistry teacher. So, come the end of February, beginning of March, right? I'm already just like I'm already just at the point of just tolerating that class. And I'm skipping school whenever I can because that's how bad my my will to go to school had been, right? And that's when I was in like my deepest depths of I just want to give up. I'm going nowhere, right? So my grades dropped. I have a graph of them like literally dropping in real time, like every because they do the grade check every like 3 weeks or something, right? I'm watching them just drop in real time, and I'm just like, I pretty much gave up. In the month of February, I gave up, right? And I did the same thing last year, where I completely fumble February. But come the end of February, I regain my stuff coming off of a bad soccer season. Same thing since freshman year, right? I come off of a bad season. It hurts my mental health, but I come back by March. I'm back at it by March. You know what happened end of February, beginning of March, where I usually get my shit together? There was a situation, right? I was doing what I normally do in chemistry, talk, because I don't care, right? And it was work time, so it was okay, collaboration, whatever, right? So I was talking to, they were having a strange conversation, so I had decided, to chip in, and so I had become, I this, the conversation steered as in my direction, and um, being teenagers, a few slurs were thrown out, and this guy, I'll name drop him, James, right? Real completely chill guy. He's so chill. Like he's very easy to dislike, but depending on the kind of person you are and how much you can tolerate certain levels of, I'll say it, certain levels of racism and homophobia, right? Like he doesn't hate gay people. He doesn't hate black people. He is black, for Christ's sake, right? So he's gonna let the N word fly, right? He doesn't hate gay people, but he's gonna say the F slur, right? But I playing with beaners on soccer teams, right? I've become very tolerant of that kind of behavior, and so it's like I look past it, you know. And obviously, there's code. He can code switch. He just struggles to do it in school because it's so unprofessional, which will be exemplified in about 5 minutes. Right. So in this table, we're having a conversation, and he's always throughout the whole year, right? He's just letting it fly. He he says nigga with a hard R. I'm not gonna say nigga with a hard R, but he says nigga with a hard R, right? And he didn't actually say it in this situation, but he said a word that was very close to it, like to the F slur, right? And so I guess my straight white male chemistry teacher had enough, and so he decided to kind of make an example out of him, I guess. He went to him. He went to James. My teacher went to James, and he out loud in front of the whole class. He didn't pull him aside. He didn't say, "Hey, can we step outside and talk?" No, he said in front of the whole class, very loudly, right? He lectured him, right? He embarrassed him, right? That's not the bad part about this, right? I would do that too. I respected him in the moment. I respected him for calling him out, but it's the words that he said that really disturbed the entire class. And I had a very, very serious problem with him. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. He said, quote, "I'm tired of you always calling people niggers and faggots." Whoa! Take a step back, buddy. Take a step back. So, that was an experience. I literally, like, I was like, that hurt my core, you know? Because it's one thing when, a teenage black man is calling out the N word, right? Saying nigga, or nigga with a hard R, you know? And it's also like, when it's like, because it's a teenage student, if you're gonna reprimand him, obviously, because you should. But if you're just gonna let it slide, and then all of a sudden, just switch and say the words, whoa, buddy, we're gonna have problems, right? And James doesn't get offended, ever. I've never seen that man offended, except for in that moment. That man was struck to his core. That man, that man struck to his core. Like, you see it in his face, the way he acted for the rest of the day, right? And so so the class ended. That happened like midway through class. We went through the rest of class, right? And then we went to our next class, which I also had together with James. And we were talking about it, right? And so, like, it was literally like talk of the town for literally the next week, right? Everyone knew about it by the end of the day. Everyone. So after the fifth period was lunch, right? And so we had, after much discussing, I mean, we didn't do shit in fifth period. We were just talking about what do we do. This man just said the hard R and the F slur in the same sentence. I know he's like that's like, you can't tell me that's not problematic. Like, he said the words, you know? And this ain't a situation like, oh, can a nigga borrow a fry, where he's unaware of what those words. No, he was saying it because he knew what the words mean, and he put emphasis on that, you know? And so we said, so he was advised by me, a student who doesn't like Mr. Samuels, and this girl named Andrea, who actually has a really good relationship with Mr. Samuels. Like, she thinks he's a great teacher, and she fucks with him, basically, you know? I don't fuck with him, she does. But, we're literally like the horn and the halo, like, talking to him, right? I'm saying, go get that man fired. She's saying, I know that wasn't what he meant, and she's also black, so she's also struck to her core that he said the thing, but she's also like, she's playing devil's advocate a bit, and so she advised him. And she advised me too, right? She told him, just go talk to him about it, see what he has to say about it, and maybe we'll see if he apologizes. We'll see if he even brings it up beforehand. And so we go to the class. He doesn't bring it up. He barely even notices us in the class during lunch, right? And so I told James, I was just like, dude, just go ask him. See, like, be polite. Obviously, I'm not an asshole, but be polite. Talk to him. Say like how that kind of struck you to your core. What we were talking about the whole time, right? And he did. He's like, hey, Mister, like, ooh, I almost name dropped him. Cannot name drop. Don't want to get sued. And so he went to the teacher and he said, very quietly, this was in class, he didn't, he said, hey, can I talk to you outside or anything like that? right? And we'll get back to why that detail is important in a second, right? And he said, hey, I really like this exact tone that I'm using right now, right? He said, hey, I really didn't like I didn't like the way you were speaking to me earlier, because like look at you and then look at me. I'm clearly black and you're not, and so like you saying those words, it means a lot more coming off of you than it does coming off of me. And he cut him off mid-sentence. He said, no, I'm not doing this right now. If you want to go talk to the counselors, let's go. We'll go right now. And he basically went off on this whole rant. He's like, you didn't even take the time, or you didn't even care to maybe pull me aside. We could talk about this in private. No, you had to do it in front of the whole class. And you he was like, let's go talk to the counselors right now. So he went back into class and he's like, and he went, everybody out. And because he does tutoring during lunchtime, right? He was like, everybody out right now. And so he sent everybody out. Everyone left, right? And as he was doing that, right, James went off to the office. I went with him, right? Not to be like fucking, not to be an asshole or anything, but because I know I'm trying to keep him from being James, basically. I'm trying to keep him as professional as possible, which I think, oh, it wasn't the most professional, polite thing to do, but also what he did wasn't the most professional, polite thing to do. But we did it way politer than he did. So he went to the office and we were waiting for him. They were waiting for him. We were waiting for him, right? Since he wanted to go talk to the counselors, let's go talk to the counselors, right? On the way up, he ran into the head of the MEC program, and he ran into the head of the MEC program, our English teacher, and he told him what happened, right? Probably a very twisted story about how, oh, he disrespected me in my class in front of all these people, right? And the MEC director, he's very level-headed man. He's New York, so he's very direct, right? But he's very level-headed because he's also black. And so he knows that when you're dealing with the system, and you're dealing with people, you gotta be very level-headed about it. And so he went and he asked James. He said, all right, talk to me. What happened? James explained what happened. And then he explained, the quote word for word. And Jeffers, ooh, I said the word. Anyways, Dr. Jeffers. Dr. Jeffers. He's like, you know what? Just don't go to his class anymore. Go do your work in my class, because all the work that we did in chemistry was digital anyways, except for the notes, which were on paper. It was a strange situation, but it doesn't make sense. But he was like, just go do your work in my class, and until further notice, and so I did that. James did that for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then he went back to class, I guess. But I didn't do that at all, because I'm telling you, when I tell you that was the straw that broke the camel's back, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't handle it anymore. Just the sight of this teacher, just it made my blood boil so hot that I literally could not bear the sight of him anymore. So I did the work in Jeffers' class for the next month until spring break, right? And then that kind of leads to where we are here. So the last week before spring break was the science state testing, in which you're supposed to go with your teacher and go, blah blah blah, do the state testing, all that BS. And hit the table again, my bad. And I kind of missed it, but going those last couple days, given how riled up I am right now, you won't believe it, right? But I was considering, going back to class that last week, especially since it is state testing. And I remember him talking about how if we do well on the state testing, it could, help our grade. And my grade isn't exactly good in his class right now because of it. He's like, you do well in the state testing, I can bump your grade up. And if you don't, then your grade will just be what it is in this class. So you do well on the state testing or you do well in my class, basically. Which is great, except for the fact that I didn't do the state testing when I was supposed to, and so I don't know if I still can. But we'll talk through it. On the topic of talking through it, right? The last Wednesday before spring break. Jeffers pulled me aside. He was like, "Go take the test. Go take the test. You can finish it tomorrow. I'm sure. I know how you are, right? I know how I am. I'm a genius like that." But he was like, "No, go take the test. Go do the test. I know you can finish it. And go talk to the teacher. And if you want, I'll go sit down and I'll talk with you. Because I was explaining to him. He was like, no, because he doesn't listen. He's one of those people that don't listen. He'll pretend to listen, but he'll hear you, but he won't listen, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. You'll say, yeah, I hear you, but are you listening? No, they're not. No, they're not listening. Right? They'll shut up and let you talk, and then they'll go right back to spraying their points away, not addressing what you said. Right? So they'll hear you, but they're not going to listen. And he's that kind of guy. It's like if you ask him for help on whatever work you're doing, he'll go and he'll say, "Oh, just go look online. It's online. It's all online. Go look at that." Did you ask your teammates? Well, I'm asking you now. Can you answer the question? Like you see where I'm coming from, I hope. And so I was just like, I tried to explain that to how he is to Dr. Jeffers. And he's like, okay, you know what? Come on, let's go. Well, no, he didn't, actually. I kind of wanted him to do that. Fever dream. I wanted him. I wanted him to force me to go have the conversation with him, in the moment, because I'm not gonna do it on my own terms. If I can avoid that man for longer, I would, right? But now I can't. So coming into this next week, because I go back to school tomorrow, I'm gonna see about talking to Jeffers and saying, I'm gonna talk to Jeffers first before I go back to that class. I need him to tell me. I want to say want, but I need him to tell me, like, word for word, what I need to do and what I have to say. And like, I want to negotiate what I want with Jeffers before I go talk to my teacher. And so, like, moving forward, like, because I want a fresh start. Hence the title, right? I want a fresh start. But it's really hard when you have baggage. So I want to get rid of it. And I'm going to try and wrap it up here because I really got to use the bathroom. It's going to be difficult. I don't even know if I'm going to go to school tomorrow because I'm also still behind in my college work, as I mentioned. And so I'm going to see if I can take the day off and just work on my college work in, like, their library or something. But, I want to refocus. I want to see if I can make the comeback with a little bit more time than I did, last semester. I don't want to do it all last week. I don't want to do it all last minute. I'm tired of procrastinating. I need to get on my shit now. I need to get it done now, But, we'll see how it goes. I'm looking for a fresh start. Will I get it? Who knows? That was essentially my story for today. Thank you for watching, if you stayed for however long this video ends up being. And I will see you next time. I'll upload this probably tomorrow. So from the short that I posted tomorrow, from then. So, I'll see you. I gotta go take a piss, and bye-bye.